Okay, we're live on YouTube now. I will. Can I monitor the chat? I do have the chat open in the web browser. I don't know what they're complaining about. You might be able to hear my son's friends rehearsing upstairs. They're forming an impromptu cover band. I can't hear that. Okay, why can't I hear it? Okay, I'm going to have to install a quick audio update. Maybe I don't have to install it. Okay. Test, test. Device is missing. No, it's not. Oh, yes it is. Test, test. Test, test. Why can't I hear? Oh. Test, test. All right. Yeah, I can't hear myself. Well, I shouldn't be able to hear myself. I don't want to hear myself. Okay. Nobody else on yet. Feel free to come on. It's 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, 7 o'clock Pacific. Crazy early in the morning in Europe. I did say people could be late, so that's okay. I want to get the, what I'm a little bit confused about is the chat. Okay, pub number 7 is up. I'm going to post the link in the Wow Signal Twitter. Yes, it's still called Twitter feed. Okay, if you go to Wow Signal Podcast on Twitter, you'll see a link. And not only will you see the link, it'll be at the very top of the feed. Okay. Well, this is pub number 7. We haven't had one in a long time. We haven't done much at all with the Wow Signal in a long time. I'm hoping that this is the start of a fair bit more activity on the Wow Signal. I won't go into all the reasons why there's been such a long hiatus, but I will say that we do have a lot of good things we can still cover. There's a lot of things that are red hot right now. And, you know, as I pointed out years ago, we are in the golden age of exoplanet discovery. Let me just check Zoom here, make sure nobody wants in. Okay. Now with lots more instruments coming online, like the James Webb Space Telescope, that has the ability to actually see individual planets and also look at developing planetary disks. I have a lot of hope that there's going to be a lot more progress on pushing back our ignorance on how likely it is that we are alone in the galaxy or alone in the universe. It's always been my bias that we're not alone, but I don't know how to prove that to someone who's a hardcore skeptic. In fact, I think we still have a long way to go in that regard. But the progress has been incredible. And then now we're seeing things on Mars that may indicate that there once, a long time ago, was something alive on Mars. What was that? Something that came from Earth, or did life come from Mars to Earth? What happened? Or were they two completely independent things? Well, we still haven't established that anything was alive on Mars. So it's one of those things where you just have to be patient and wait, and most of the time you're going to be disappointed. Well, the people who say it's never aliens, I think, are mistaken, or at least deeply dogmatic. Sometimes it may be aliens. By aliens, we may be talking about alien bacteria, but it's still aliens. Even if the two biospheres came from the same origin. So anyway, and of course there's, Europa Clipper heading out there. Going to learn a lot from that. I don't know if we'll learn anything definitive about life on Europa, but we'll learn a lot. Still just one participant, which is myself. Okay, well, the next step for the WOW signal will be very likely an interview with Dr. Abel Mendez, who has been on before. He's an expert on planetary habitability, but he's also closely associated with the Arecibo Observatory. And he and his group have been mining data from Arecibo recently, and I'm very interested in finding out what they've learned from that. So that may be coming on in probably about 2 weeks from now, maybe less. The WOW signal anniversary is the 15th, so that's less than a week from now. So stay tuned. We'll have something on that with Dr. Mendez. And then I have a whole lot of other things in mind. I'd really like to do some live panel shows with an expert or two on various topics where we'd be live, we'd be taking questions from YouTube. And one of the things I'm trying to master in this pub is linking into YouTube and getting the questions, and without messing up any of my my audio feed or anything like that. We are live now. Come on in. I'm going to have to bring up my email real quick. See if anybody's got any updates on their status. Let's see. James Garrison said he would try, but he's having apparently neighborhood-wide issues with his internet. So it's not just him. And I invited a lot of people. Let's see. I don't know if you hear my son's band upstairs or not. They're right above me. It's okay. It's supposed to be the pub, not the studio. Okay, I emailed a bunch of people. We'll see what happens. Okay. The other thing I'd like to say is that the Patreon is still open. Please do not give me a lot of money. Give me a little bit of money. $1 per episode would be fantastic. I don't bill people when I don't put out episodes. It's not a monthly or a weekly thing. It's a per episode billed, and it's whatever it is you decide you want to see. So if you think the episode is worth $2, $1, whatever, go ahead and pledge that. As always, our shorter versions of bursts are not billed, so you won't pay for those, just the longer sort of magazine format episodes that go over 50 minutes, let's say 45 minutes, and have multiple segments. Those are the ones that we bill. And so over the years, we collected a fair bit of money, enough to buy some equipment. It hasn't covered all the costs of keeping the hosting going during the hiatus. I just covered that myself. That's okay. I'm not complaining. Just if you want to help, it's open, patreon.com/wowsignal. Go over there. I think there are many charities that are much more worthy of your attention and money. So please don't do that till you've considered the full picture, where your charitable donations should go, because this is completely voluntary. The podcast is going to do what it's going to do, regardless of donations. However, I would say that if there are more Patreon supporters at higher levels, that will encourage more content, more episodes. It's not going to affect my decision whether or not to retire. That's going to happen when it's going to happen, regardless of how many Patreon subscribers I have, unless there's thousands of them. And even then, it probably wouldn't affect it, because I don't want to be a professional podcaster. I'm quite happy being an amateur podcaster with a little bit of support, enough to pay for the costs, which isn't that much. It's really not that much. I'll be completely open with you. I use Libsyn. They charge me $15 a month. If I need more space, I might have to pay an additional few dollars a month to them to open up more space for audio. That's only audio. For video, I have no problem getting free support from YouTube. YouTube may throw an ad or two onto a video. I don't get any money from that, and I don't approve of it necessarily, but that's what you get. What have we got? Oh, we got participants. Hold on. Who's there? Oh, it's Rock Howard. Hey, Rock Howard, how are you doing? Can you hear me? I cannot hear you, sir. I don't know whose fault that is. Hold on. I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me see if I can. This was working the other night. Let me just get. Sorry, Rock, I cannot hear you. Let me get. What is the deal with this thing? Okay, Rock, I'm going to need you to say something. Okay, I'm definitely getting something. Test, test, test. Test, test. I don't know why I'm not hearing you, sir. I got my volume cranked. This is why we do tech rehearsal, so we can figure this stuff out ahead of time. I should be able to hear you now. And I do not. I don't know why I can't hear you. Hold on. Oh, well, part of the problem is, okay, let me do one thing here. I don't think the world can see you even, but I'll fix that real quick. There we go. Okay, now you're going out. Your video's going out. I don't know why I can't hear you. Can you check your end? Well, no, it's coming through Zoom. Hold on a second. Why am I not getting this? I apologize to anyone listening who cannot hear me, who cannot hear. Can Rock say something like test 1, 2, 3? Yeah, I should be able to hear that. Why can't I? Damn. Okay, can you say it again, please, Rock? Oh, that's interesting. Oh. My son and his band are playing the same song over and over. Hopefully they get it really well. Oh, Mike Bohler. Oh, hold on. Mike, I'm going to get you in. Hold on. This should be a good test. I see that Mike Bohler's here, but I don't. Well, oh, this is really frustrating. I'm sorry that it's taking so long. The audio's coming in. I just don't know why it's not going out. This is very annoying. Anybody else there? See, Mike Bohler, I see something on the chat. Oh, what the hell? Now, this was working perfectly the other night. I was having no issues whatever. I'm going to try switching my monitor. Hold on. This is kind of a desperation move. We'll see how well it works. Test, test. Now I can hear myself only too well. Okay, Rock, could you say something, please? Oh. Now I'm just down to one, myself as the only participant, which is annoying. I don't know why I wasn't getting audio. I think it was going out on the live stream. I don't know why. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Okay, I'm going out on the live stream. And I can hear that monitor very clearly. Okay, I'm going to go plug back into the other one. Okay. Now at least I can't hear myself. Rock, please say something. Can you hear me? I'm going to move this to Brady Bunch view. There we go. Can you hear me? Say something. Oh, I still can't hear you. I see audio coming in, so I know that it's there. And I think it's going out on the live stream. Possibly. No, it's not going. Not going there. Let me delete this and add it back again. Hold on. It's only take a second. Okay, I've added it back. Okay, can you say something like test 1, 2, 3 or something, whatever? Oh, rock. His camera's disappeared. Oh, damn it. I'm not getting it for some reason. Well, it's on the Zoom pipe, but it's not coming out, not streaming out. This is just a disaster. I'm sorry, Rock. I'm going to have to apologize to you and cancel this whole business. It seems like nothing's working on the audio side, and I don't know why. And we had it working beautifully on the tech rehearsal about a week ago. It was working splendidly, and Zoom is getting the Zoom is putting out the audio. I'm getting it. Hold on, let me try one more time with my other device here. Just because I can hear it doesn't mean it's going out on the live stream. Okay, can you hear me now? Oh. No, I'm still not hearing it. I don't know what's wrong. I honestly don't have any idea. Test. Test. Okay, my audio seems to be going on the live stream, but not the meeting audio. Test. Yeah, it's going. What's wrong? Well, Streamlabs has been very promising. It seems like it worked great. I was singing its praises the other night. Okay. Oh, Mike's just watching. Well, hello, Mike Bohler. I hope you can hear me. I don't know if you can Rock Howard. I can see that there's audio coming in on the display, but I cannot hear any of it, and it's not going out on the live stream, which sucks. Test. And I cannot figure out why that would be the case. Well, I'm going to have to plead failure here. I think the audio is not working. We could treat this as a tech rehearsal, and we'll try to get it fixed. So, Brock, if you could stay on for a few more minutes, I will try to get you going here. I do not know why it isn't working, but I may have to ask you to log back in to the Zoom meeting, because I may have to take it. Something has to go down. I don't know what it is. Mike's going to join in. That's good. Okay, Mike, if you could join in, that would be great. The software I'm using has always worked really well, and I just don't know why it's suddenly not working. Something has gone wrong. This audio writing kit, I've never heard of it. Is that what's messing me up? There's something called audio routing kit. Hold on, let me go back to Zoom so I can let Mike in. Hello, Mike, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you. You are connected. Your audio is flowing into Zoom. I cannot hear it. That's not your fault. Hold on. What is it? Somebody snuck something in here on me that I was not expecting. What is audio routing kit? And why is it messing up my other stuff? Audio. Okay, well, still not working. I have to apologize. For some reason, I can't get the Zoom meeting to go out on the live stream, and I can't hear it. And I don't know why that is, and it doesn't seem to be something I can affect in the settings. I apologize. I see you let your hair get a bit longer there, Mike. Mine got a bit shorter last year, then it got longer again. Anyway, this used to work just fine. I don't know. I'm so confused. Okay. Can you say something like test 1, 2, 3 or whatever? Or
Testing 1, 2.
I can hear it. Excellent. Keep going.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing
Yeah, I
one.
can hear Mike Bohler, and it's going out on live stream.
Cool.
I don't. I just restart. All I did is turn it off and turn it back on again. I have no idea. I haven't seen you in a million years, Mike. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Um, Kind of a rough time, but I figure what the heck, I'll join in, try to
Well,
enjoy the.
this is the rough times special right here.
Um, yeah,
Everybody's had some rough times. Uh,
yeah,
I'm trying
yeah.
to get James Garrison to join in from Oklahoma. He's having a rough time too. Uh, he's not employed.
Uh, Same as me. Yeah, I've been job scrounging.
Uh, well, that there in that respect, I've been lucky. I've been able to just hang in at Goddard Space Flight Center. But yeah, I was hoping to get more people in tonight, but um, you know it is. Friday night's date night for all these guys, these lucky guys.
Yeah.
Uh, um, well, I thought I'd just try another pub because we haven't had one in so long.
Right.
And if anybody's watching, I apologize for the audio issues that now appear to be solved. And Mike Bohler, if you don't remember him, he was on a lot of the Unseen Podcasts episodes that we did. And the Unseen Podcast is no more, but
Right.
that Mike made many good contributions as a kind of the resident skeptic. Now you had your own podcast. I don't know if you're doing that anymore, but it was it's kind of skeptical take on various items. Or
Yeah, I did the conspiracy skeptic.
oh yeah, and I listened to that pretty religiously when it was going out. They were nice and short. They weren't too long. You know,
And
20
I tried
minutes.
to, yeah, trying to condense years of insanity into a moment of sanity. But I, yeah, I kind of had gotten a job that kind of took all my time, so I kind of stopped, and then I got, for some reason, iTunes removed me from their system for some reason,
Oh, that's odd.
and so I was kind of hanging around. I was using Blueberry for my the podcast aggregator,
Yeah.
and then I pretty much stopped, and then let's see, I was working. I had a stroke.
Oh,
Yeah,
not good.
not good. It was about 3 years ago, and I'm doing good. I do have my right hand. I've got three fingers, or two fingers at a thumb. My thumb is kind of numb, and some memory, some memory and language issues. I have a rough time with big words. Small words, no problem, but if you have something like, something long, I kind of have trouble articulating it. Uh, but that's pretty much the extent of the damage. So I've been wanting to get back into the podcasting somehow, but I'm just not really ready to take the next step. You know, so yeah, it's been a fun few years.
Yeah, well, I understand the issues with stroke. It's pretty serious. I had a very minor stroke about 2 years ago. I was okay in a few days, but just to taste enough of a taste of one to know that that's serious business.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I didn't even recognize I had a stroke because it happened like I want to say like in the um, like April May type of time frame, but and I was having trouble talking, and then I noticed that eventually my fingers kind of started going numb and not working too well. So in end of October, I went to the doctor, and he says, "Oh, you had a stroke. Got to get you to the hospital." So and yeah, the one of the physical therapists says he called it a drive-by stroke, where it hit and then it cleared really quick.
mhm.
And so it was. I mean, because I felt fine. I mean, there was no pains,
Yeah,
other than the hand and some, language things. That's the only problems I had, and yeah, that probably I don't want to blame a lot of things about blame things on the stroke. I mean, I probably screwed up other things too. So so I'm thinking that's why I'm in the state I am, employment wise and so on. But
yeah,
it's it's just it's been fun. It's it's
yeah. Well,
you know it,
the stroke hits your brain directly,
yeah,
and you realize, oh, gosh, I'm dependent on this very buggy machine for everything I am and I
right,
do. And you know, um, yeah. I mean, when I had my little what they call it, tran- a transient ischemia attack (TIA), which is what they call a mini stroke, I was fully conscious. I didn't. I just asked that. I happened to be in have a doctor present, and I said, "Should I not be having this problem with my hand?" And it feels funny, and I can't really hold anything properly. And the next thing I know, there are about 5 doctors in front of me. Oh, you're having a stroke. Let's get you over to the MRI machine, whatever. And they, but and for a few hours, I was numb on one side, and my hand felt funny. Felt my right hand, my left hand was fine, and then my doctor found, weeks later that they did the proper MRI and find out that I actually did have a little lesion there.
yeah. Um,
And I realized, gosh, there's all this stuff up here that is basically me. Is nobody designed it? Okay, it just happened.
right, right,
And mom and dad did their best to deliver the best brain they could, but they were not really in charge of that process.
Yeah, yeah. It's like with me, it was like, yeah, I didn't really recognize it. 'Cause, I mean, a long time ago, I had pinched nerves in my neck, like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
where it and it it messed my hand up and my arm and stuff like that. I couldn't lift my arm up and stuff like that. And it's like so I thought that maybe this was another one of these uh, pinched nerves somewhere, in my arm because it was yeah, it was my middle finger, index finger, and my thumb. I mean, I can still do the Vulcan, you know, but
Yeah.
it's again my hand, and of course I found out I got carpal tunnel, but it was in my
Ouch.
left hand. My left hand is the worst. My right hand, and it's pretty minor stuff there. So because I can use I mean I can move my hand. Sometimes these fingers just don't don't want to play. And like I said, it was like maybe it was maybe it was just a pinched nerve that I had to work through because eventually eventually the way I get it, then it's maybe a couple of weeks and then it goes away type of thing.
Yeah.
Usually when I wear a heavy coat and the coat is sitting right on my neck, so it kind of messes up it pinches the nerves right in here, and that's
Huh.
where so I gotta stop doing that for a while. So um,
Move to a warmer climate.
yeah, that helps a little bit, but and like I said, because I was in Texas when it happened, so like I was totally lost how to deal with it on top of it. I don't know the doctors. I don't know anything down there. So yeah, it was an adventure on top of it. It's yeah, so it's yeah, but I'm doing good. I mean, it's
Well, you seem to have a good attitude in spite of all the pain and suffering.
right. Yeah,
Yeah. I try to maintain that as well. I'm 66 now, and I have a much more acute awareness of my own mortality
yeah.
and my own weakness.
I'm 62, so I'm right behind there.
We're
Uh,
almost the same age as my wife, uh, who seems to be in pretty good health. I hope she's always in good health. But I'm thinking of retiring, frankly. Um, I haven't told anybody at work that yet. Hopefully they don't watch this live stream. But I'm not right away,
right.
because I'm working on something that is not going to launch till 2029. So I don't know when I want to just like part ways with it, or maybe get out while there's plenty of time to bring somebody else in. Um, I really feel uh, I feel I have the wisdom and knowledge of an older worker, but I don't have the energy and uh, you know innovation of a younger guy that I had. That I was when I was 27, 28 years old. I was full of new ideas, but the so we'll see what happens there. But what I'm working on does not require a lot of radical thinking. It's pretty straightforward, and the science is what matters. And um, you know, a lot of good work being done on that. So, not by me. So, uh, I'm the engineer who just sort of tries to make it all look possible. So I don't know if I'll be around 2029. That's still 5 years away. I'll be in my 70s. I want to get out and travel and, camp and hike the mountains while my legs still work. And which they don't work as well as they used to, I can tell you.
Fortunately, my legs are still working. I do get the knee kind of. I think it's again. I think it's like a pinched nerve or something like that in my knee that
Oh.
kind of mess things up.
Yeah,
I got
I had major knee problems last year, but I found a good orthopedist who knew where to put the needle. The guy was 76 years old. Been an orthopedic surgeon since the Ice Ages, and he said, "Yeah, well, I'll give you this stuff and put it in your knee, and you'll feel better." And he was absolutely right. So far, my knees feel fantastic. So, no pain at all. So I'm very encouraged by that. I'm riding my bike. I'm getting out there. I'm hiking when I hike. I don't hike. I walk, and I have a camera with me, so I'll stop frequently. And I'm not impressed by people who can hike a trail in some kind of record time. Well, don't you ever stop? Don't you ever look what's around you? Maybe just making it down the trail and fast is not the point. But I want to go out west. I want to do some of that. I won't be able to do the real rigorous stuff, but I can do a lot, and my wife's all for it. So we're gonna get out there and do it, and while we're still young enough to not completely fall apart.
Right.
Partially falling apart is acceptable. Giving up and staying a night in a hotel is acceptable.
Yeah, 'cause I really want to like hit the Civil War sites. I mean, I've been as a kid. Went to Gettysburg. We went to Gettysburg, Antietam, and Harper's Ferry.
Oh, those are all near here. Yeah, I live in Maryland, so and also Monocacy, which important battle fought in Maryland. Well, well, several battles were fought in Maryland. Monocacy and South Mountain and Antietam. And Gettysburg is just over the Maryland border.
But I'm hoping to make a trip, maybe like a big loop, like start in, I can start in Pennsylvania, work down into Virginia, then kind of sneak across to Chattanooga and that area, and then I've been to Atlanta, but I haven't been to they have a museum with all the information there, and I do want to get to Vicksburg because there's an ironclad there being restored.
Oh, really? An ironclad?
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid reading about ironclads and thinking how cool they were.
that was neat. Because it would be, I think it'd be like a great uncle was the commander of the he was the commander of the Northern Fleet of the Mississippi, I think it's called. Uh, uh, what's his name? Foote, Andrew Foote. He was the admiral, and he worked for Donaldson. This is two forts there, right in the. It's like on the head of the. Uh, I know Donaldson was one of them, uh, but he commanded the ironclad fleet that would eventually work south to Vicksburg. He was wounded. I forget what the battle was. I another thing about the stroke is memory. I, I, I can remember. I can remember important things like Ohm's law and Watt's law and all that stuff. That I learned in high school. I can't remember things like fairly recent. Uh, Short-term memory is got a shot to hell. Long-term memory, good. So I'm trying, yeah, but I'd like to uh, go down, go like, from Cairo, Illinois, down to New Orleans type of thing, and like again, just uh, see the sights. Because I had been there's the Battle of Wilson Creek in Missouri, and I've been to that battlefield, and then I think that's the main battlefields I've been to, and but I want to see them all basically, try to see that. Maybe pick up some War of 1812 on top of it, and kind of sneak that in, because those were all in the East Coast type of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean that. Uh, I've actually been to Vicksburg, but I was just a kid, and we traveled. We walked along and saw the. They've got a lot. They had a lot of the fortifications restored, so you could see what the Confederate fortifications look like. They were pretty formidable. You can see why the Union had trouble breaching them at first, before they really hammered them with artillery. But that was the way they did things those days. You send thousands of men at a formation, and then most of them don't come back, and you figure, okay, well that didn't work. What do you do next? And it was pretty brutal.
Right.
And so yeah, my dad was big on taking us to historical places, even if not so much Civil War, but wherever we happened to be, and making us listen to park rangers talk about things for a long time. But you're a little kid, you don't care about that.
Yeah, it was.
Some of those places I want to go back to with a better attention span. Like we went to Palos Verdes, which is in Colorado, which is this site where they have these cliff dwellings. And when I was a little kid, I said, "Oh, cliff dwellings, cool." And then, let's sit and listen to this park ranger talk for an hour. No, I want to go see the cliff dwellings. I want to go up there. But I really what the park ranger had to say was very good, very good. I just couldn't pay attention to it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the Southwest, but those things are all over the Southwest. Those old indigenous structures, and they're all and pictograms and so on. They're all really cool. And you get a little older, you're beginning to realize there's more to it than just some holes in a cliff. You know,
People living in there and
living in
being there.
there for years, maybe their even whole life, uh, and somehow surviving in spite of the harsh climate and the whatever threat it was that made them want to go live up in the cliff. Because you wouldn't do that if you were just like, you know, if you were just having a pleasant life on the plains, farming, fishing, whatever. You would go up there if there was something that really threatened you, and you could defend those really well.
Right.
Oh, Rock's back. Excellent. Okay, Rock, you should be able to hear us now. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you just fine now.
Super.
I don't actually, I still don't know exactly what went wrong, but I'll diagnose it later.
Okay.
Uh,
I rebooted on my end as well. So
oh gosh, you know what? I think Streamlink is not running. Oh wait, yeah, it is. Okay, Streamlink's running fine. I don't know if you guys ever met Rock and Mike Bohler was
I'm not
on.
seeing Mike right here. I saw him when he was on a few minutes ago when I checked. I saw you guys
He's
were
on
up
now.
on YouTube.
He's on now. Can you see him?
Yeah, I'm.
We
Yeah,
we lost your video for a second there.
yeah. The app's not showing him. I can see you and hear you just fine.
Can you see Mike? Say something.
Hello.
Can you hear Mike?
Oh,
now?
there he is.
Okay.
Yeah, when he spoke, his video popped up.
Okay. I have the gallery view on. Where I can see everybody at the same time.
Okay.
Could be,
Let me see if I have that. Oh yeah, there we go. I think I'm good now. Super.
okay. Yeah. Mike was on when I did the Unseen podcast a few years ago. Mike was
Sure, I remember that.
He was on a bunch of those.
Nice.
And especially the ones that involves. But he did a podcast about conspiracy theories, and it was fun. And I learned.
Yeah, I was on the WoW signal side of the house, really, myself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we did. This is actually WoW Signal Pub number 7.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done a few of these before.
Yep.
And we've had different participants. Of course, anyone who really wants to participate can. But Mike is an old hand, and so we've been chatting for a while. It's good to catch up with Mike, and the WoW Signal itself has been off the air for a while. That's 100% my fault. I won't go into the details about what kept me from doing it, but I'm kind of slowly easing back into doing a bit more of it. When I did it, I enjoyed it a lot. It was important to me. I cared about it, but other things I cared about a bit more intervened, including staying alive. So I kind of just, it's one of the things that I dropped. One of many things that I dropped. But I never intended to end the podcast. I think I always told myself, if I'm going to end the podcast, I'm going to go on with an episode and say goodbye. And that'll be the end, and there will never be another episode of the podcast after that. But I never did that because I never intended to end it. So, and what I want to do, I enjoyed the Unseen podcast, but it was very stressful. We're doing it at first we were doing it every week, and then I said, I can't handle this. It's too much. Let's stop it every 2 weeks. That helped, but still, it was still stressful because I had even though it was open participation, I had rules about how we proceed, and I thought were important. And getting everybody to stick to those rules was just, you heard the phrase herding cats. I'm sure you. This is like herding wildcats. And so we did 100 episodes, and I said, okay, I can't handle this anymore. And I went on the air and explain all the different things that I thought were not working, and including the fact that the audience wasn't growing, and the downloads were not increasing; they were about the same, and people were, and the panelists were pretty much the same people every time, which is not that those people aren't at fault, but the problem was I couldn't get any more panelists to come in and work through that process. So I decided, I'm the wrong person to be running an open participation panel-based podcast, and so I stopped it. And I did an episode. I said, I'm going to stop this now and do a couple more episodes. I'm going to stop. And I think that's the way to proceed. If you're going to not do an podcast any more, and you're definitely sure you're not going to do it, you go on to your listeners and say, sorry, listeners, but I'm done. And not a lot of effort involved in that. So, but with the WoW signal, I've always wanted to continue.
Well, there's a lot to talk about now. I mean, there's so much building evidence for exobiology. It's just incredible right now.
Yeah, but there's no smoke. There's no like slam dunk, but there's a lot of interesting clues.
It's taken a large leap up in the last 6 months.
Yeah,
and that was unexpected. But you're right; it's not a smoking gun yet, and we may be decades away from that. But still,
well, I'm very hopeful for Europa Clipper. I'm very hopeful for Mars. I'm hopeful for Venus.
It's interesting because Mars now looks much stronger candidate than it had been, and Venus is looking surprisingly strong. And the one that is backslid is Europa. And although Enceladus is still pretty strong.
Yeah, but we won't have any new Enceladus data for decades, probably.
Sadly, probably true, unless something happens on the drive front to get out there quicker.
Yeah, so, again, that's probably decades away. Yeah, but nuclear rockets would definitely make a big difference there. But what I'm hoping for is the Europa Clipper will probably not turn up a smoking gun, but it will give us a lot of intriguing clues that.
I mean, even like yesterday, there's a story that there's new James Webb observations of Maki Maki and some other Kuiper Belt object that shows geologic activity of some sort happening out on those worlds. They're not just frozen wastelands. They've got something going on, possibly chemically, possibly heat sources and stuff, and more potential for biology out on those Kuiper Belt objects way out there that nobody was talking about that, and now that could be a thing. It's looking more and more like icy worlds in general could all potentially have something interesting going on chemically, if not biologically. It's just amazing.
Yeah. The New Horizons flyby at Pluto showed a much more complicated planet than anyone was expecting.
All right, absolutely.
And things have been happening on the surface here and below the surface, and how did that happen? And the scientists have been debating that for years. But I'm not saying they're going to find life on Pluto, but
It's not impossible.
We had very naive views of how dynamic these places were, and
Hmm.
and now with something like Enceladus, yeah, it'll be a long time for anybody gets back to Saturn. It'll probably be the Chinese, or somebody else, besides us, the United States. But
I don't know. U.S. is experimenting with nuclear rocket stuff, and then there's all this plasma jet stuff that's coming along. It's like breakthroughs are possible. I've been surprised before here. It's it'll be interesting to see.
yeah, I think it's going to be. I think the most promising avenue is nuclear powered rockets, because it's the plasma stuff and the ions is all power limited. But you increase the power by an order of magnitude or more, and then you've got unlimited potentiality, and much past Jupiter, the solar array is not going to work. I mean, I was
Right.
very impressed that Juno did what they did. That They
Mhm.
got a solar array to work at Jupiter. They had to do it. They had to get their power budget very tightly constrained. It was very good engineering work, but and it saved them a ton of money. Just going.
Well, about the efforts with uh, the Breakthrough Starship project, where they're trying to send.
Yeah, I do know about that.
Okay, so I have very big misgivings that would ever work to get probes to Alpha Centauri or whatever, or
Mhm.
Proxima Centauri. But using something like that to get probes to cruise through Enceladus's atmosphere, yeah, I think that's like doable.
The problem
That's
is
like
it's much harder to break.
you don't have to if you're just sending hundreds that are going to zoom through and give their readings, and you don't worry about breaking.
Well, but it's not just braking; it's maneuvering. I mean, you have to. It's tough to target those. I mean, they could probably solve that problem, but it's a tough problem. But
I think
so far
I
they
think
haven't even
it's
solved the
pretty doable.
basic problem of how you do what Breakthrough Starship wants to do, at any kind of reasonable cost. So.
They're making some the most impressive strides so far is on the sail front, making sails that actually could work in the manner they envision, being pushed by the lasers and stuff. That's the place so far they've made progress.
Yeah.
But yeah, that still leaves a umpteen number of problems to solve, not
Yeah,
including
it's a tough one.
miniaturization
But
of
the thing is, we know how to do nuclear rockets. We have a very good idea how to do that. And
right, but
except for
the one I was,
politically.
the plasma rocket I'm specifically talking about is nuclear based. It's a magneto, I forget, magneto something
Hydrodynamic.
engine, hydrodynamic, something like that. And it is nuclear based, but it also uses a plasma, so it's considered a plasma rocket. But it's not an ion rocket. It's not one of those. It's very much a nuclear powered plasma thing. It's fairly new. It was just the first write ups came out about, I want to say, a year and a half ago.
Oh,
So
I guess I'm not familiar
pretty,
with that.
it's a very new concept.
Because if you
and
have a
I'm very-
lot of power, you can use almost any working fluid
Mhm.
to get your momentum
Right.
exchange. I mean, something like hydrogen is best because except hydrogen doesn't store well, so you might want to think more of something. There's some kind of there's all kinds of engineering trade-offs. There always are, but
Mhm.
what I would do is I would, if you've got, if you can put a lot of energy into a fluid or a gas, the whole trick is to get that gas shooting out the back at the highest speed possible. And that's, those are tricky problems, but they're not impossible problems.
Right.
And and they scale well. There's if you can get a little bit of it to go, you can get a lot of it. And so if you could build even a fission powered or a fusion powered rocket, fusion powered is a little more in the future because we don't really know how to build a reactor that doesn't weigh 5,000 tons.
Right.
In fact, we don't know how to build a reactor at all, really. That meets the requirements.
Right.
The fission reactor we do know how to build. We can put them in submarines. We already done that.
Yep.
In the 60s, they were talking about putting them in aircraft. Although.
Oh, and in spacecraft too. There were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
The what you get is you want a pretty big one that can expend all its energy on your working fluid, whatever that is, and it doesn't really matter chemically what it is because the chemical process isn't important. It's just blasting it out of the back.
So, Paul, I got to interrupt and say one thing, and that is, I think it's been so long since we talked, and what can I say? James Webb has been outstanding. You guys just nailed it.
It has been a huge success, and I'd credit that to a very large team of people.
Yeah.
Who all were all in on making it work, including a really good science team that was very involved in the design, very involved in every aspect, and not just the instruments and not just the science, but and John Mather, who is a brilliant guy, who kind of had the vision for the whole thing all the time. He should get a second Nobel Prize for that. He's already got one for WMAP, but he basically brought in a super talented team who they said this is going to be really challenging, but they understood how it was going to be challenging and why it was going to be challenging and what kind of problems needed to get solved and how to solve them. And they did it. It took a lot longer and cost a lot more money than anybody said. But that's because when you're doing something for the first time, you don't know what it's going to cost. You don't know how long it's going to take. And this was really a first-time thing.
And plus, they decided to make it a one-shot deal. And I wonder about that sometimes. I mean, would they have been smarter from the get-go to say, okay, we're going to build 3 of these things, and 2 of them probably won't work, but hopefully one of them will?
Well,
would that have made a difference? I don't know.
You can't, in the NASA culture, you can't do that.
Yeah, okay, that was a culture thing. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and plus, I think, given the huge amount of money to get the first one, you've got to say, this has got to work. And in NASA, the basic attitude is that you can have better, faster, cheaper, pick any 2.
Yeah.
But if you have,
but if you're lucky to get one.
But they knew they weren't going to get cheaper.
Right. And they certainly didn't get faster.
But they said this is the flagship observatory. It's the best anybody's ever put out there. It's a world. It's not just world class. It is the world leading observatory of its kind. It's going to be a long time before somebody launches something better.
I would say it's not even the best space telescope in terms of dollar for dollar.
Well,
but that's just my personal opinion on it. I mean, but it is awful close.
In terms of what it can do, no other space telescopes are able to do what it does.
It's just kind of funny how nobody. The Kepler mission, for example, was not one that was highly subscribed by anyone to be successful, and for the amount of money that took, the results were incredible.
I agree. I agree.
And then the other big winner, Guy, was such a big winner. And then it's easy to overlook, even like you said, WMAP and Planck um, and Guy. It was huge success for the money they've spent on it.
Yeah,
So they're
definitely.
just there've been a Spitzer tests. I mean, there've been so many
Well, Wise.
that
Yeah.
Wise, yeah, good call. I mean, so it's really hard to say that Webb is way out in front on a dollar for dollar basis,
Well, no,
but
it's
but
not. But
but in terms of advanced technology and results, maybe they are the best. If
if
they're
you
not
want to
now,
put
maybe
the
they.
biggest mirror anybody's flown in space with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
coldest focal plane anybody's ever flown,
yeah,
at least probably
and do
even in the classified world, I think it's
do several forms of spectroscopy on
yeah,
top. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
it's incredible.
Well,
It's incredible.
Miri is looking at the mid infrared, which is hard to
Mm,
do. It's hard to do, uh, and you've got to get your focal plane temperature down to incredibly cold temperatures,
hmm
and that's hard to do, um,
hmm
and very hard, and um, costs a lot of money. And so it's kind of like they say with probably anything, like audio equipment or photography, you spend 10 times as much to get like 20% better or 10%
hmm
better. Well, what they got with JWST is they spent 10 times as much to get a lot better.
It did.
Especially in that it did cost more. Yes, it cost a lot. Uh, Partly because it took a very large team to get everything working properly and
hmm
all the science coherent. Because what they managed to do during that whole process of all this complicated engineering is they kept all the science objectives in mind, and
hmm
everything had to still trace back to the science objectives, and it did. And
Yep.
and that's hard to do, and it takes good leadership to do that. And especially with all the problems they had, like with the Ariane 5, there's some subtle issues with Ariane 5 that um, had to be dealt with that were tricky. Um, all that stuff, and you can't want to say, well, let's just let a science requirement drift to deal with this. No, you got to keep the science. Uh, we're not spending all this money and not getting the same science, and so they figured all that out. They worked through it. I was briefly on the team for like about a year. Um, the I very my role was very unglamorous, but it was it gave me some insight into what they were doing and how they were doing it. Um,
I do have a quibble with how the way they assign telescope time.
how's that?
So right now, of course, in a foreseeable future, it's all based on people make submissions for what they want, and like 1 out of 7 people are lucky enough to get chosen. And so you have to make your argument about why your particular observation is, worthwhile for the amount of time and all this sort of stuff. And this may be difficult to pull off in reality, but in my mind, they should reserve about 10% of the time to um, to projects that are selected by random out of the ones that are submitted. They may want to do some sort of pre-screen that says it can't be too long or it can't be too close to the sun or the moon, all the safety things. They can do some pre-screening and knockouts based on certain criteria like that. But the idea is that rather than have a human decide what's important, you have to have the possibility for something random to be discovered because somebody wants to look at something a little bit off the beaten track. You have to leave some room for non-directed discovery in your process to get the best results. And I think this has been shown at other telescope facilities that have tried this. Is they say, who are we as the senior astronomers to decide what these junior astronomers want to look at? Maybe we're too biased because we've been in the field too long and we need to see it with fresh eyes. And that's hard to do. And so the way around it is to allow for a little bit of randomness to seep into the process so that you have a little better chance for serendipity.
Yeah,
so
well, that's not unreasonable.
Yeah,
it's
a small thing.
I mean,
but
the proposals have to be from serious astronomers, not from just any random kook. But
of course, it has, but to even set up a proposal. Have you seen any of the proposals for observation time?
Yes, I have.
They are incredibly complex to put together.
They are.
So they can knock out the ones that don't qualify for technical malfeasance very easily.
Yeah.
And they do that anyway.
Yeah.
So
for Hubble, it's very complex.
So what they should do is they should pick 90% of them the way they do now. And then for the ones that don't make it, they should put all the ones that don't get disqualified for technical malfeasance into a big slush pile. And then they should just randomly pull from that slush pile when they have some holes in their schedule.
Yeah.
And look for ones that fit. Happen, maybe it's a short slew from where they're currently looking and they have a time slot and they go for it, boom, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know that back a few years ago, Tabby Bayagian was trying to get Hubble time to swing out. Now, this is a different category of time. It's some event happens and Hubble swings over and does a spectrum or something, or does a.
I think there is some stuff for that kind of thing built into.
Yeah, they do have that.
The process.
It is part of the process, but she and some other professional astronomers put in a proposal for it, and they were rejected. And I was told that it's really hard to get these kinds of things approved if there's a low probability of learning anything, of any success, discovery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you have to persuade the board of senior astronomers that there's some probability that you'll learn something when you do that. So they were going to submit additional proposals. They felt like they learned a lot by getting rejected. And JWST, of course, they also submitted an early, one of the early observation proposals, and they were, as did thousands of other people, and theirs was not selected like most other people. But as JWST ages and a lot of the early objectives are met, I think there will be more time.
Well, there has been signs of them loosening up some.
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked that David Kipping got his proposal accepted this time around. He has an observation where they think they're going to have a shot at pinning down the first actual exomoon. And but it's a fairly complex observation that takes more than the average amount of time compared to most observations. So he based on how much time and commitment he needed, he didn't even expect to get it, and he got it. So there does seem to be some maybe I think they've recognized that they need to make some room for a little bit more esoteric stuff occasionally. I mean, they did look at these Kuiper Belt objects recently. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because all this early cosmology stuff has been so fascinating and so surprising that the temptation might be to only do that, but they're clearly
Well,
not.
they've always had multiple science objectives. It hasn't been
Right.
just
Yeah.
cosmology. Protoplanetary disks, things like that.
Right.
Because, what can you see at mid-infrared? We can see a lot of stuff. Early galaxies, yeah. You can also see protoplanetary disks. You can see stars that aren't quite fired up yet. That kind of thing. So it's
And they're taking shots at planetary atmospheres too. So
yeah, they're well equipped to do that. Learned a lot from Hubble. I think.
Yeah, it's still one of the most difficult, challenging things they can try to do. That's for sure.
And but I think that if we had launched 3 of them, we probably would be doing the same things with all 3 of them. They'd all been successful, but.
No, okay.
But the amount of money we're talking about is just not available to NASA at this point.
Yeah, but think of it in terms of how much less stress there would have been for all the participants. It's
I don't know if you can persuade Congress to go for that. As it was, NASA had to fight hard to keep JWST going in the budget because it was so overrun.
Yeah.
No surprise. It should have been if it had not been overrun, that would have been a miracle. It was behind schedule. Ditto. So I think that
there are projects that are so over budget and behind that they should eventually be canceled, and sometimes they aren't, even though they should be. I mean, take the ITER project for example. I think shutting it down before throwing another $10 billion at it is the wise thing to do.
Which project is that? Sorry, say again.
Is it called the ITAR? It's the tokamak they're building out in Europe.
ITER.
Yeah. ITER. Yeah.
Well, that's probably going to cost tens of billions, even if
but they just announced another pushback of 5 years and tens of billions or more dollars. And the thing about ITAR is it's designed to be not something that actually produces net nuclear energy, but something that's just supposed to be a learning tool so that others can build successful nuclear facilities. And it's now it's looking to me like tokamaks are really not the way to go anyway. So even its best case scenario was supposed to be a learning tool, but what if other people are starting to figure out how to do fusion before their learning tool even gets finished? That's a distinct possibility now. So why spend another $10 billion on it?
Yeah. Well, for some things, $10 billion is chump change. For other things, it's a lot.
I'm just pulling that number out of my butt. I don't know how much exactly we're talking about, but
I mean, you look at how much people are spending on AI training right now. The table stakes are in the billions. Just to play in the game, and no guarantee you're going to win. And
no guarantee anybody's going to win.
Yeah, so that's because you have to go out and basically buy all the chips that NVIDIA produces for several months, put them in and organize them into a supercomputer, which is going to cost you a lot of money. Find a way to power it and cool it. I don't know if you've seen the one that they have in Austin for Tesla. It looks like I haven't seen it. It looks like a huge, just a cooling facility. Not the actual supercomputing. They have a massive cooling facility.
Right.
That circulates coolant through the supercomputer and then back out into the air. It looks like a giant video card from the side. It's really big, and giant fans blowing this hot air out into the Austin sky, and they have a big, inside their building, they have this massive supercomputer that is mostly NVIDIA chips processing training data. And
they better make that thing smart enough to design itself better pretty soon.
It's pretty. They are making a massive progress. But this thing is new. They have really not taken full advantage of it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, they have they've processed over 1 billion miles of driving with it, with all the video they get already, and they're getting, and now they're going to get millions of miles a year of video from all these cars they have on the road. I don't know. Actually, I considered buying full self-driving for my car. I said, this is not going to benefit me that much. I can't really use it for several years before it's really, approved, so I can take my hands off the wheel and my eyes off the road. But it's going to benefit Tesla because they're going to use the training data for all the mistakes that the thing makes. And I go, well, okay, I'll wait until, I think they should spend the money, not me. So, because they want $8,000 for the beta version. The beta version is pretty good, but it's not anywhere near where you can just feel free to take your eyes off the road and your hands off the wheel. It's still got a ways to go. It's massively improved, but it's still not where it should be. And I said, well, you want me to give you $8,000 so you can improve your training model? Where's my cut? I don't see where my cut is. I still have to drive the car. Now, in 5 or 6 years, I think it's entirely plausible. I'm not saying likely, but plausible that you will be able to do that. You'll be able to take your full self-driving car and say, go there, and then read a magazine.
Yeah, that's nice, but I don't want to pay for the insurance for that. I'll just go get it.
It's going to be the insurance companies are going to be
let somebody else provide the vehicle and the insurance, and I'll just be a passenger. That's a robo-taxi. Yeah, exactly. It was just like, why would I ever buy that vehicle?
Well,
never.
The insurance should be lower because there's no way it's going to get regulatory approval until it's far safer than a human driver. Not just a little bit safer, but like 10 times safer.
The insurance will not be cheaper. It'll be more expensive at first.
I think it'll be cheaper.
No,
the accident rates will be lower and the fatality rates will be lower.
It has to be cheaper in the long run for it to be successful, but in the short run, it won't be.
Well,
they won't have the actuarial data to allow them to do that. They'll have to do it that way. They'll have to stick it to Tesla and those other operators until they prove that they actually are safe.
Tesla has its own insurance company.
Well, that's what they'd have to do. They have to sell.
And they have their own data. And trust me, I get on my son and my wife all the time about our safety score. It should be higher than it is, and because that's what they base the premium on. But if you had now full self-driving right now is probably roughly comparable to human driver right now in terms of So it's not that much riskier or less risky than a human.
No, that you just said that it's very dangerous. Yes, I heard that.
So it's got to be about 10 times better or more, which is plausible. I think that and there's no reason why it can't be safer than a human driver, because you can taking out stupidity is not that hard, and certainly you're not going to have drunk computers, and you're not going to have computers that are suffering from blurry vision or being too sleepy or whatever. So I think that they can, and they may, and the way the billions of dollars they're investing in training is a sign that they're serious about getting there. And before, how because the regulatory regime is very conservative, before they say, yeah, you can put robotaxis on the road. In fact, you can use anyone who owns a Tesla with full self-driving can let their car drive out of their driveway and go provide a robotaxi to somebody else. They're going to have something like 10 times safety.
Yeah.
And to get that, you're going to have to show, a marked reduction in fatalities, a marked reduction in accidents versus human drivers.
It'll be amazing if when the next Carrington event happens, the major loss of life is on the highways.
Well, I think what happens if the computer doesn't work, it'll just throw itself over and stop.
Oh no, that's not how the Carrington event works. Do you remember the telegraphs kept running? The electricity went down, the grid was down, but the telegraphs kept running because there was so much magnetic energy in the air. It was just driving everything electronic to still work. But it just was no longer.
That they were talking about much more complex chipsets than the Carrington had in the 19th century. Didn't have any chipsets at all. These things, if they detect a failure, there's watchdogs and so all over the place.
No, I know what you're about to say, but Tesla's not the right one to say it about it. They're having all sorts of problems with their contactors and with fires and other problems.
They have fewer fires per mile than the U.S. average.
That's true.
By a large margin. It's not just a little bit.
Yes, I know. But they also have more problems with it, that they're spending the energy on that problem probably more than any other EV maker right now. That's my guess. I
don't think so. I
think so.
They've just published their data like last week. The fires per mile is like an order of magnitude less than the U.S. average. Less than the U.S. average.
I know, but that doesn't mean, because their miles are so large, that doesn't mean they can ignore the problem. They're just putting the best possible PR spin on it. But based on people I know and I follow that we're talking to, they are scrambling like hell to improve the hell out of their contactors and leading a big charge in that direction. And I hope I'm right about that, because I happen to be, I happen to know about a local company who's got some technology right up that alley that could really benefit. So we'll see how that all goes.
Well, there's also a lot of work being done on safer batteries.
In general, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I think is inevitable at some point. It's just going to get there. Maybe a few years away. But in terms, every time a Tesla lights on fire, anywhere in the U.S., it gets big press coverage.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I know how that works. Yeah.
And if your Ford or Chevy burns up by the side that way, no press coverage even out in the local area. It's just a normal, ordinary event. And likewise, if someone crashes a Tesla and there's a fatality, it's reported in the national news.
Here, let me just give you this little hint if you want to look into this more. The current contactors are basically fancy relays. They're not semiconductor based. What Tesla and others are looking into is replacing all of that with semiconductor based contactors that can be much, much more intelligent, can work faster in terms of switching on and off, and actually would be less expensive as well. So semiconductor solutions are becoming available for this that simply weren't available even as little as a year ago. So they're looking into it. I think all the EV guys, if they're smart, are looking into it. They're also looking into the same technology to upgrade their inverters and their charging systems in general. So power management, things like that. So these bidirectional semiconductor-based power management units, they're coming along, and I think they're going to cause a sea change. I think ultimately they're going to improve the range and reduce the cost of these vehicles significantly over the next 3 to 5 years, and that's great news for everybody.
Yeah, I gotta check my. Yeah, I had heard about the contactor. I'm not clear on what's being switched in and switched out, but
Yeah, on the inverter front, Stellantis is the one that's got the public project going along, where they're about to enter phase 3 of their next generation EV power plant, and they are lining up inverter manufacturers to use the new semiconductor-based power switching. And they've chosen the power switching they want to use, and they're just lining up the inverter manufacturers to take advantage of it, because they've seen how much it'll improve their range, maybe 25% on range,
I'm skeptical.
and while reducing costs. Huh?
I'm skeptical about 25%.
That's for Stellantis, not for a Tesla. So
Yeah.
they may have other improvements that they're making, but still, it's not insignificant. So you want to check it out. It's a low.
Volvo and
there are a bunch of brand names, Jeep and others. They're mostly Europe, but they have a few global brands too.
Yeah.
So they're a top 10, but they're not they're not a top 5. So
yeah. I don't use them every day, but I use Tesla superchargers.
Mm-hmm.
They are super safe, extremely
Mm-hmm.
reliable. I don't hesitate to go out and grab the connector and plug it into my car. And I've never heard of any safety issues with that. Now they can be.
I don't think the inverters are not really about safety. They're more about efficiency and faster switching. The bidirectional semiconductors can bleed off a lot less energy than the previous generation, and they get a lot of boost from that.
Mm. Yeah, I've they are going. Tesla is going to a higher voltage architecture for their low voltage bus, and getting away from 12 volts, which is going to help a lot. That's an efficiency move. It's not safety.
Right. And yeah, the high voltage solutions are more efficient. And yes, what I'm talking about is a high voltage solution too. So yes.
Yeah. For the semi trucks, I think it's actually. I can't remember. I think it's 400,000 volts or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
These are they call them mega chargers. They're really only for the semis. But the semis they have massive batteries. You want to charge them really fast, and they're putting those in limited places. The Tesla supercharger network is very large, but the mega chargers are just a scattering. so far. Although
Interesting.
I think in about a year or two, you're going to see a lot more of them. But at places like truck stops and not
Right.
not the Wawas and Sheetz where you find the supercharger. We recently did a trip to Ohio and back, and nearly all the superchargers were at Sheetz, which is a popular, roadside gas plus food franchise that you find all over that part of the country. Other places it's Wawa. Here in the Mid-Atlantic, Wawa is more popular. But you'll find that's what they're doing with the superchargers. They're putting them where people can go and get a sandwich and not have to, while they're charging their car. Our trip to Ohio is it's almost 500 miles. So we have to stop minimum of 3 times. But each one of those, I've never, in all that time, I've never been to a supercharger where there's even one stall that was not functional. It's, now I haven't checked every time, but there's, on the app, it tells you how many stalls are available and how many are, and the ones that are not available there's a car parked at them. That's why it's not available. That's why the North American charging standards become pretty much universal now. I think even Stellantis now goes with that. But anyway, we are coming up towards the end, but I appreciate you guys showing up and having a chat with us.
Fun.
And I apologize for the audio issues that we had earlier. I still don't have an answer to what that was, but I will be doing that research tomorrow. And I'll probably have a few questions for the software vendor. But I wish we'd gotten a couple more of the usual gang of idiots, but they were busy. So, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Before I do that, Nick Neilsen, just when I was about to give up on you. I didn't see you there for some reason. Hi, Nick. Oh, I like your background. What do I do? Poke him in the nose?
There he is.
Sorry, Nick. I didn't see you on the list where I was getting his. Sorry, Nick. I didn't see you on the list in time.
That's okay.
We were. You remember Mike Bohler from the Unseen Podcast days?
Say again?
Mike Bohler? There's Mike Bohler.
Yes. I remember Mike Bohler from the Unseen Podcast days.
Yeah, haven't seen him in a long time. And Rock Howard has been on several of the Wild Signal Live, Wild Signal Blobs and so on. I'm sorry I didn't see you right away. Nice background, by the way.
I just created it for today. And I have a green screen now, and I have got professional lights, so I can actually have a good and a good quality microphone, so I can do a better podcast. So.
Yeah, I should get a green screen. Oh, actually I have one, but I have no place to put it back here in this
Well, if you want advice, I don't know if you do or not, but I was going to buy a little green screen that I saw on Amazon that was just big enough to fit behind your head.
Yeah.
But I ended up going on Craigslist and I found this enormous green screen that's like 7 feet tall and 8 feet wide. And now that I've got this enormous one, I wouldn't have wanted a small one because it's difficult enough to get myself centered
Oh
with
yeah,
this big
makes
one.
makes sense. Yeah.
If you had a small one, I mean, you'd have to bring the camera in so
I've
it
got
just
my
frames your.
mouse pad.
Very good.
I was maybe the only wow signal mouse pad in existence. I've got it.
Well, you could get more made and have them for
Oh
swag.
yeah, anybody can buy one at my my merch link, but I'm sure it's too expensive. But well, yeah, Mike and I were catching up for a while. It took a while to get. Rock came on first, and the audio was not working, and it was a huge embarrassment. I don't know why it wasn't working, but we eventually just clicked enough switches and it started working, and then I was able to have a chat with Mike, and then so anyway, Nick Neilsen is officially part of pub number 7. It is almost midnight, but my son's band, which we're practicing upstairs, are now dissipating. Yeah, they're gone. Just see, I don't know if you could hear them earlier, but they.
No, I guess they're not loud enough.
That's a good thing. Well, they were rehearsing for a house party that they got hired to do, so I can't imagine they're not going to be that loud. He's got another band that he's in that does more clubs and stuff, but this is kind of his friends just getting together and doing covers. But yeah, they were playing the same song over and over. Fortunately, that's done for the night. We were talking about all kinds of things. My experience on JWST, which we talked about last time we chatted, and why I think it was a big success. I mean, it was partly because there was big money behind it, but and
James Webb,
yeah,
and it will be a success going forward for hopefully many years. Hopefully, it will be functional for decades and be bringing us in.
There are risks. There always are, but there.
It could get hit by a meteorite.
It's already been hit by meteorites.
It could get hit by a larger one.
Get hit by a bigger one and be completely knocked off the air. That's unlikely, but still possible. Other things could fail, but
In theory, I think it could go about 15 years if their luck holds out.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably about right. Plus, probably a few more years. Once they can no longer control the orbit, they will still be able to get observations, and maybe even beyond that.
Yeah, well, look how long they've been able to derive images from Hubble. I mean, after certain systems have stopped failing, they can still make partial use of it.
Well, Hubble had to have multiple repairs. That's not in the cards for JWST.
Not with current technology, but in 10 years, if Starship is making regular trips, which shouldn't be a big deal to send an astronaut to a Lagrange point.
They did do a few. They made a few design choices that would make it a little bit easier to do repairs.
That's good. Maybe they won't have to break stuff off like they did on Hubble.
Yeah. Well, Hubble had a lot of modular stuff you could take out and put another one in. It was kind of designed for that, but this
good thing too, given the myopia.
But they when it was budgeted and design, JWST had no clear mandate to be serviceable. You could get a
Right.
robotic ship out to L1, L2, sorry, pretty easily, and and then do some repairs. You probably couldn't fix the mirror or the secondary mirror. You could fix electronics or similar types of things that had gone south. A lot of
Or the antenna.
the antenna's probably the last thing I would expect to fail, but there's some really sensitive things there that could fail and be really hard to replace, almost impossible, like the cryocooler. If the cryocooler goes bad, your mid-infrared is shot. You're not going to get your signal noise is going to go way up. So, your signal noise is going to go way down. So, if that happens, basically, you'd probably be cheaper to launch another one than it would be to figure out how to get in there and pull all those,
And by that time, you're into a calculation of, if you're going to build another one, you're going to build another one with the newer technology and not the old technology.
Well, the Hubble repairs were very expensive.
I'm sure they were.
They were hundreds of millions of dollars
I'm sure they were.
Just for the repair, preparation, and equipment. Not to mention the very expensive shuttle launch, and not to mention, well, I guess that's really the main additional cost.
Well, there was a huge long spacewalk too. Those are not cheap.
Well, cheaper than the hundreds of millions that they spent on the tools and the replacement modules and because you can't just say, okay, just crank me out another one. You have there's a big
right.
In that culture, there's a big process. There's tons of paper that gets
No. If you include all of the custom tools they had to build to allow for the fix to happen with a spacewalk, then yes, the expense was enormous.
I knew one of the mechanical engineers who built some of the tools.
Yeah,
and he was showing me a photograph of him standing next to the test procedures.
The test bed for that, right?
No, just the paper for the test
procedures.
And it was like a big stack of paper. It was
more than
several
Kubrick's,
feet.
So that more than Kubrick's zero gravity toilet then.
Yeah, it was very, very, and that's just the way Goddard does things.
Yeah.
And very high amount of engineering content and effort goes into doing something like that. And it takes a lot of hours of effort. And then everything has to be, the test itself is quite rigorous. They have to go down to Marshall and test things in the WETF. There's nothing that's easy or cheap. And
right.
What they get out of that is they have a lot of assurance that it's really going to work. They have probably some assurance they don't need. Some of it they do. But nobody's going to be the one who wants to say we don't need that and we need this. Beyond a certain level of risk. So they do it, and if you do a JWST repair with a robot or even with an astronaut, it's going to be, it's going to run into the billions pretty quickly. So yeah, you ask yourself, should we, we know how to do this now. Should we just do a slightly better one? Or maybe even a lot better one.
Well, they might have a bigger fairing potential by the time they want to do the next one. So
Well, yeah,
it could be a different story.
I think you're still gonna. Yeah, I mean, the fairing was one of the constraints they had, but they got around that by folding the mirror.
Right, but you might be able to do a bigger mirror with less folding going forward. It'll be interesting.
Well, the thing is, now that we know how to fold a mirror, people are going to want to fold a mirror to get a bigger mirror. and that bigger mirror is going to cost a ton of money. These precision optical things are just, there's no way to do them cheaply.
Plus, they're in competition with the very large now ground-based telescopes that are being built with compound mirrors and you know, computer tuning every segment of the mirror so each little bit is corrected.
Well, it would have to be in the
adaptive
infrared,
optics.
or it's not. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be worth doing because it is cheaper to do that kind of thing on the ground. You know, and a 30-meter mirror on the ground is feasible.
That's what they're building now on isn't that the Mauna Kea telescope? Is the TMT 30-meter telescope?
Yeah, and they're looking at even bigger ones. But those are going to be visible light.
You can't do X-rays, can't do infrared. Yeah, you're right.
So I think the next big
Yeah.
space telescope will again be another infrared telescope. It'll be, and it will be maybe even deeper than the infrared, which if that's even plausible, I'm not sure. But
do you think that will become another project?
They're already there's a lot of studies going on right now.
Yeah, there are a bunch of them.
They're all on paper. They're all on paper. Nobody's.
Right. I wouldn't expect at this point to be on paper, but if they're thinking about it, yeah.
Oh yeah, they've been thinking about it for years.
Yeah, there are at least 4 or 5 different proposals for next generation space telescopes of all different types. I mean, everything from gravity. I mean, do you call a gravity detector a space telescope? I kind of do.
Well,
So,
yeah, I mean,
but that's one of them.
It's not really a telescope, no, but it does.
Is it an interferometer?
It's not even that, really. It's
okay.
I mean, it's an interferometer, but that's just how it detects the.
You know how Lisa works on the ground.
Yeah, sure. But,
right. So this is a similar system in space, but much further apart.
Well, they've been working on that. They're working on that for over a decade.
Right.
Probably like 2 decades. And it's mostly been ESA that's working on that.
Right.
The United States has contributed a little bit of technology, but ESA launched something several years ago that was a technology demonstrator that actually worked quite well. The purpose of that would be to detect gravity waves that are much lower frequency than what we can see with LIGO. And
the only thing I think might hold that one back a little bit is if they continue to have good success with the pulsar array, which is actually, I hear, going pretty well. And the pulsar array also is able to detect extremely low frequencies, including potentially supermassive black hole mergers. So,
well, it would be the prize, the ultimate prize, which it's just not clear that they can get there, but it would be the echoes of the expansion phase of the universe. Which would, like fraction of a second after the Big Bang. If that exists, so that's something that that's what the astrophysicists really want, because optically, infrared, whatever, you can't see past the cosmic microwave background, but you can see the gravity waves could be past that. So that's what they want. That may be a bit of way further off in the future, because they're going to be very, very weak and very.
if you look at the history of observational astronomy, there's always been a long arc of people realizing a possible observation could be made and then actually constructing the technology that can make the observation. So people were attempting to make gravitational observations for decades with various instruments, but it took decades to build something like LIGO that could actually detect these waves.
I remember James Webber, who was at the University of Rochester back in the 70s, maybe even 60s. He was taking these very large cylinders of aluminum, just pure aluminum, and attaching sensors to them to try to detect gravity waves. Not having much luck. Needed a more sensitive instrument than that.
Right.
LIGO was the first serious attempt to find
And at the same time, Penzias and Wilson discovered the cosmic microwave background radiation. There were others nearby at Princeton, what Peebles and I can't remember the name of the other guy who had
Wilson,
who were attempting to observe that radiation, but with a much smaller, cruder, less sensitive instrument.
Yeah.
It comes down to your ability to build a precision instrument to make the observation.
Yeah, and LIGO turned out to be a really difficult instrument to build. It's an impressive bit of engineering.
All the pioneering instruments are.
Einstein actually predicted, he predicted gravity waves, but he also predicted that gravity waves would never be within the observational range of humans.
Well, in his era, that probably seemed pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
And through his lifetime, it was not within the observational horizon, but now it is in the 21st century.
Yeah, it was amazing.
He knew nothing about lasers.
People had the idea for literally hundreds of ideas of looking for being able to measure stellar distance through parallax from the Earth being on opposite sides of the sun. But it still took hundreds of years to be able to build an optical telescope that was sufficiently sensitive that it could detect that parallax.
Yeah. Well, when I was an undergraduate, an astronomer told me we have good parallax to maybe, this was in the 70s, we have good parallax to maybe 10 stars. And
well, that's really improved though, just in the past decade or so. The astrometry has become
Hipparchus
much more
in the
precise.
90s improved it by orders of magnitude, and then Gaius improved it again by orders of magnitude. It was just the limitations of ground-based telescopes are such that you can only get so many.
You guys know the guy got my BS in astronomy and physics from Caltech, and this was my field of study. The whole distance ladder thing, yeah. It was all about the distance ladder, and it was, for me, it was mostly about what are the ramifications of galactic evolution and the observation of extremely distant galaxies. And it turns out that it's super complex, because when you actually look at very deep galaxies, what do you really see? You're only seeing the very center, the very core, the brightest, very center part of the galaxy. And so if you just do galactic evolution and you try to sum up all the light coming from the galaxy, that does not correspond with what you actually can observe at those distances. And that's what my study found, is like, and this was like mid-70s, and I was like, oh, we're still a few decades away from really nailing this down. And that turned out to be right too. But now, there's still, there is the so-called Hubble tension. There's still concerns that the distance ladder has some sort of major hiccup that we haven't figured out yet.
Yeah, I read about that. A lot of people are convinced that the problem is not the distance ladder; it's something else. But
I'm convinced too. But still, it's not a slam dunk to say that it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the error bars that they use are highly optimistic. Just my opinion.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming in and
Been fun.
spending a couple hours.
Don't be so long for the next one.
It won't be. I'm thinking October for the next
Cool.
one. And with a couple of technical rehearsals scattered in between, so I can make sure we don't have this kind of embarrassment again with the audio. Well, I can't make sure of it, but I can. Mike, your
We can
lighting
try.
has improved a lot. So anyway, I'll be around, and I'm going to have Abel Mendez on the show soon to talk about his results. Sort of, as I understand it, it's kind of like data mining the Arecibo data. Of course, Arecibo's no more, but there's tons of data that have been sitting around from many, many years of Arecibo observations. And he's going to have some results on that.
Cool.
I'm not saying it's going to be aliens, but it may be aliens. So people should stay tuned for that. But even if it's not aliens, it's probably going to be enlightening in some respect. And then I think we're going to do a Wild Signal live. Not a pub, but a actual, like a distinguished guest and a panel of people who volunteer, but who are, it's not open participation. It's going to be a few people. If you're interested, stay in touch, because I may be something up your alley. It may not be, but it won't be Abel Mendez. I think I'm just going to do that the traditional way, with just him and me talking and recording it offline. I have some ideas. And if you have ideas, let me know. And what I'd like to do, going forward with the podcast, I still don't have as much time, although I have more time than I used to have. The last few years have been very difficult for me to juggle everything and still do a podcast. I've been hospitalized three or four times in the last couple of years. And that always throws you for a loop when that happens. But I am looking to put together a team similar to what I've had before, maybe even some of the same people that would be producing audio content, video content, maybe not, I don't know, for the podcast. I've maintained the Libsyn hosting. I've never canceled it, so all the old episodes are still there. It's cost me $15 a month. I thought that was worth it. And I did cancel the Unseen podcast hosting, but all the episodes are on YouTube, so nothing is completely lost there. And I might even have a lot of the old audio recording files. That was about 100 episodes. It's actually more than the Wild Signal so far. So, but I still have the Libsyn deal going, and it's 250 megabytes a month, so that's enough to do 3 or 4 audio pieces. And I'm willing to increase it if I need to make the room for it. So the objective is not to become monetized, not to become famous. It's just to put out the content that we care about. And I've made I didn't really say I've made money from the podcast, but I did have the Patreon did pay for a few things when it was highly active. It's not active now because I'm not putting out episodes. That will change. I'm willing to do 4 or 5 episodes a year. And I get a team together, we could maybe do an episode a month or even an episode every 2 weeks, something like that. I don't want to be too ambitious. It can't dominate my life. That'll never happen again. But I can see doing that. So anyway, thanks for showing up, guys. I've enjoyed catching up to you. It's been a while, especially with Mike and Rock.
Glad to see you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot better, I must say. Mike, hang in there.
Yeah.
We both had some difficult times, Mike and I, medically in
Right.
recent years. But I have most of my hair back, which I'm very happy about. It was all gone about a year ago. And thanks. And we'll wrap it up now. And thanks. Everybody say goodbye. Wave and smile.
Later.